Now, the next part of the chapter that we are going to start would be, we'll start with the excretory system in human. Now, all of you, look into this. We are going to start with the last segment of the chapter, that is excretory system in human. Now, when we try to understand what are the parts of the excretory system, both these diagrams that you have in your book, you will pick those diagrams. These two diagrams are important for drawing. Girls, settle down. Now, when we are talking about this excretory system in the human, where is this entire system present? What are the important parts? Let us start. Understanding, huh?
Kidney.
No, this is the adrenal gland. Yeah, what gland? So now, what is the definition? We are going to understand the concept of excretion. What is the definition of excretion? What should you define? Definition of excretion, what should the definition be? The release of harmful waste substances. Release of harmful waste substances. The concept of harmful here is what type of substances to be released out. The type of substances to be released out are the majorly the nitrogenous waste substances we are talking about to be released out from the body. Let us learn the definition of excretion. The definition of excretion always should be written this way. What is meant by excretion? The process of release. The process of release of the toxic nitrogenous waste substances. The toxic nitrogenous waste substances from the body. So now, when we are talking about the process of excretion, this is what has to be understood. All of you will take out your notebook and write down the definitions. The first is define excretion. When you get this for 1 mark, what should you write? What is the key term in your answer? The mention of the word nitrogenous waste substances has to be there. So we are talking about what is the meaning of excretion. Remember, excretion is always by the way of the kidneys. So we are understanding the release of nitrogenous waste substances. So which are the nitrogenous waste substances we are talking about? Nitrogenous wastes of the body. What are those nitrogenous wastes of the body? Nitrogenous wastes of the body are majorly urea and uric acid. Nitrogenous waste substances of the body are majorly urea and uric acid. But how are they formed? If I have to understand why the word nitrogenous waste substances used for this compounds, because they are rich in nitrogen, very simple to understand. But what are the otherwise made up of? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and so much of nitrogen. So I would say that why the word nitrogenous? Because they are obtained by the breakdown of amino acids. Amino acids. एक और बार तुमने and both this, you are a new student. New student behave very nicely. At least एक डेढ़ महीने तक behave very nicely. I don't remember. Listen, until you establish your rules, at least अपना behavior थोड़ा ठीक रखो. And this one, what's your name? Here you know the R. So now, when we are talking about the concept of excretion, remember, you are always to understand excretion matlab filtration of blood होने के बाद जो waste substance, that is excretion, and excretion of majorly what from our body has to be done, urea, uric acid. So this urea and uric acid, where are they formed? I'm saying that the process of breakdown of the amino acids, where does the breakdown of the amino acid will take place in our body? It is in the liver. So never to understand that since we are going to talk about the kidney is preparing the waste substances. No, kidney does not prepare any waste substance. Kidney does not manufacture any waste substance. Its only job is to filter and throw away. Then which is the part of the body which is manufacturing all these waste substances, converting one type of substance to the other and giving rise to some toxic substances which has to be thrown out? It is the job of the liver. So the first part, introduction to understand is, what is the definition? What type of substances to be thrown out? And where are those substances formed? What are the names? This will get in your question paper. Name the two most important nitrogenous waste substances. And you are writing urea and uric acid. Where is urea and uric acid formed in our body? Always very clear to understand. Liver. It is formed in the liver. Amino acids. Amino acids. Amino acids are the simplest digestible forms of proteins. Proteins, by the process of digestion, releases amino acids. Yes, so already I studied that. Now next is, we come across the next part, that is to understand that what are some of the important waste, substances and which organs deal with. So if I talk about some of the excretory organs of our body, which are some of the excretory organs of the body, let us think of. The first that we are talking about is the kidneys. Kidneys are the major excretory organs of our body. What do they release out? What do they throw out from our body? They are supposed to throw out urea and uric acid and so many other different types of substances. In the process we are going to learn. The kidneys can throw away all the poisonous chemical substances that enter our body along with food, along with medicines, along with so many other different type of chemical components that we may be consuming, or any other type of chemical substance that enters our body along with other different methods. So now that we are talking about kidneys as the primary organ for excretion. But the kidneys are throwing out the urea, uric acid. What is the process? The process is filtration of the blood. By what method do they throw out? By the process of filtration of the blood. That is the only method. What are the steps of filtration? We will have to learn. So kidneys are the primary excretory organ. Now I will think of what are the other excretory organs. Other excretory organs means additional. But these additional excretory organs have got nothing to do when I talk about the nitrogenous waste substances. Nitrogenous waste substances only the kidney can deal with. Nitrogenous waste substances only the kidney can deal with. But the other parts of the body, there are few more parts of the body also, which is throwing out some of the other waste substances. So if I talk about the lungs, now the story of the lungs we already know. What type of waste substances? Carbon dioxide. So I would say the lungs also release out some waste substances from the body. What type of substances? Carbon dioxide. What is the process involved? The process majorly involved is exchange of gases, diffusion that you have already come across. For lungs, we are of course not talking about any nitrogenous waste substance. How is the carbon dioxide formed and etc. Everything you have studied. Third is, I talk about the liver, a very, very important organ of our body. I talk about the liver. Now that I talk about the liver, a very important organ of the body, how can I consider that the liver also has an excretory role? Now, the liver has an excretory role. One, already I mentioned, one role. What is it? Liver is the site where urea is formed. So, formation of the urea. That's the reason. Liver can be considered as an excretory organ. But one feature you have studied. One more feature. With reference to digestion, you have studied. What is it?
Excretes bile. Which contains
bile juice, which contains bile pigments. So, what is the other job? How can liver also be considered as an excretory organ? Because In the liver, the hemoglobin is broken down to the bile pigments, something similar. And because of those bile pigments and some more simpler pigments, the excretory waste has got a characteristic color. So I would say, what is the other reason why liver can be considered as an excretory organ? Because of the breakdown of hemoglobin, and formation of bile pigments. Breakdown of hemoglobin and the formation of bile pigments. And these bile pigments are actually again broken down to some other pigments. So now that I'm talking about these bile pigments, the bile pigments are again broken down to some simpler pigments. These also has got a specific name. These are known as a urochrome. And these pigments are actually responsible for the color of the excretory waste, that is the color of the urine that we understand. So I'm saying that how can liver be considered as a very important organ when we are talking about the story of excretion? Yeah, yes, ye to hai hi, because liver is the most important organ, only organ in the body which can form the urea. Urea is formed only by the breakdown of the amino acids, and ये function सिर्फ liver cells में ही हो सकता है. Other than that, the hemoglobin or the RBCs which are deposited in the liver, dead RBC is always deposited in the liver, and the hemoglobin is always broken down to form the bile pigment. This much you already studied earlier. Now, a little bit further I go, saying that these bile pigments are again further divided or broken down to some few more simpler pigments, yellowish in color, and that's the reason the color of the excretory waste. Apart from this, can we think of any other excretory organ? Yes, apart from this, I can also think of skin as an excretory organ. How can we think of skin as an excretory organ? Because skin releases sweat. How is this sweat formed? Sweat is also formed by the filtration of the blood. The skin that we are talking about, deeper layers of the skin is known to have sweat glands. Deeper layers of the skin known to have sweat glands, and these sweat glands are constantly filtering the blood. In that process, accumulating a large amount of water and urea. So now that I talk about sweat glands and sweat and filtration of the blood, what will it result in? It will result in the production of the sweat. And what will the sweat consist of? It will contain the water and the salts and the traces of urea. It also has got a small fraction of urea. That's the reason we consider skin also as an additional excretory organ, accessory additional excretory organ kaha jata hai. But definitely we are going to study more about the kidneys now. Kaunsa? Simpler pigments, color of the urine. ये जो particular pigments है, it has got a name. So because of this particular pigments, the color of the urine. So now, how many excretory organs I am talking about? The kidneys, the liver, the lungs, and the skin. These three are known as additional organs. What is the vital organ? Vital organ है kidneys. So that's the reason we are going to study the excretory system. Looking into the parts of the excretory system now. Looking into the parts of the excretory system, what are the parts that you are going to write down? What are the parts of the excretory system? This excretory system has got parts like, the parts would involve a pair of kidneys. It has got a pair of kidneys. What next? It has got a pair of ureters. It has got a pair of ureters. We are going to study all these structures. A single urinary bladder. A single urinary bladder. And the fourth is a single smaller tube-like structure known as the urethra. इतना सारा सामान में से एक पेंसिल नहीं था, मिला भी So now, when we are talking about the parts of the excretory system, what are the parts you are supposed to write? Name the parts of the excretory system. क्या लिखना है? A pair of kidneys, a pair of ureter, urinary bladder, single ureter. Let us see here in the figure now. A pair of kidneys, which are bean-shaped structures. Where are they present? They are present on the dorsal side of our body, just above the hip. These are the regions for the kidneys. Now, these are the bean-shaped structures present on either side of the vertebral column. So that's why I mentioned here, the kidneys are present here, on either side of the vertebral column.
Traces of urea.
Traces of urea. So now, when we are talking about the kidneys are present here. This is the location for the kidneys. On either side of the vertebral column. The kidneys are not here, not in the front. So the kidneys. हाँ?
वो दिखाते ना
कहाँ पे?
वो मीम मेरे को किडनी से चैट को ले लिया तो इधर क्यों बैंडेज होता है?
Bandage actually happy होना चाहिए. The kidneys are not there. In the front part we have got the intestine, the liver and the stomach.
बोन के ऊपर मतलब इंटेस्टाइन के पीछे
हिप बोन के ऊपर.
हाँ भाई इंटेस्टाइन के पीछे.
Intestine के exactly पीछे. So now on the
plate shape on the cross ऊपर की.
not the plate, it is actually the hip bone.
Kind of.
It is the hip bone.
Hip bone के ऊपर ऐसे.
Hip bone के ऊपर fixed नहीं. It is just suspended to the hip of muscles. So these are the regions of the kidney. These are the regions. So when we are talking about the kidney up there, and these are in the form of tubes. What are these tubes known as? Ureters. All made up of smooth muscles. When I say all made up of smooth muscles, just like name any other two parts of the body you had studied made up of smooth muscles. Heart is made up of smooth muscles. Heart is made up of smooth muscles. Cardiac muscles. Name other two. तुम लोग का कौन सा business चल रहा है वहाँ पे? हाथ पैर under control. सीधा बैठो. सीधा बैठो. सीधा बैठो. So now, when we are talking about all these entire parts of the excretory system, remember I am saying made up of smooth muscles, meaning they are all involuntary. They are all involuntary again. I am talking about this part of the system also, all involuntary. So smooth muscles, tubes running from the kidneys towards the lower abdomen, and both the ureters, these are called ureters, tube-like structures carrying the waste substances from the kidneys towards a muscular bag-like structure. This muscular bag-like structure is in the front of the abdomen, lower abdomen. This muscular bag-like structure is in the front of the abdomen here. This is also made almost like the stomach. It has got a storage capacity. It is, the walls are extensively distensible, elastic. It can expand to a great extent. So this is the bladder that we are talking about, the urinary bladder. And the urinary bladder is in the front and the lower abdominal region. And this is followed by a very small muscular tube again known as the urethra. When we draw the diagram, we have to draw. See here it is labeled, but it's clearly समझ में आ रहा है. Actually, on the inner wall of the urethra, there are a pair of muscles. And what are these muscles called? Sphincter muscles. And this is acting almost like the valves. What was the function of valves in the heart or in a vein?
To stop the blood from
going. Backflow. So बोलेंगे क्या? To stop the backflow of the blood, to prevent the backflow of the blood, or else allow the unidirectional movement of the blood. So same here. Here there are some muscles. What is the name of those muscles? Sphincter muscles. And what is the job of the sphincter muscles? Allow the waste of the body, the urine, to flow out. So what are the parts we have learned? A pair of kidneys, a pair of ureter, a single urinary bladder, and a single urethra. So these are the parts. Next is we are going to understand what is present in the entire kidney. What is present in the entire kidney? So now, if I look into the entire kidney in a section, I get to see that one particular kidney drawn in a section, the entire kidney drawn in a section, talking about the ureters, the entire kidney almost is known to be divided into two major regions, specific regions. And what are these two major specific regions known as? These specific regions are known as the cortex and the medulla. So talking about the two major regions, what is this? This is called the cortex. What is this lighter region known as of the section of the kidney? This is known as the medulla. Go next. So now when we are talking about the section of the kidneys, just one more. So now when we are looking into the section of the kidney, say suppose I want to find out that what is there inside the kidney. Two major parts that you have to remember. What happened? It's a दुखी क्यों है तुम्हारा चेहरा? हाँ? क्यों? Now, these are parts of your body. You should be very. Just speak nonsense about all the body parts. Now, when we are talking about the kidneys, now internally when we look into the kidneys, कोई नहीं रहेगा.
बहुत बात तो कहो.
Now, when we are talking about this, the section of the kidneys, let us come back to this. The section of the kidneys, what are the parts? The section of the kidneys, two major parts only you have to remember. What are the two major parts known as? Outer region which is darker, known as the cortex. Inner region which is lighter. Now when I say darker and lighter, matlab, when we look into the section, now not only blood, this particular region looks very dense and thick. एक particular structure ज़्यादा है, and this particular region looks quite less dense. The parts are easily visible, and when we try staining them also, this part takes a lighter color, and this part is always darkly colored. So that's the reason we always say the outer region is darker. Darker, क्यों darker? Because it is packed with certain type of structures and blood vessels. So this part is denser and darker, this part is lighter. What is the outer region of the kidney known as? Cortex. What is the inner region of the kidney known as? Medulla. Now, I am saying that it has got certain regions packed up. So what are those regions packed up? The regions packed up is each particular granular structure that I have drawn. The section of the kidney actually looks like that. The outer region looks like this, as if it hundreds and thousands of some granular structures are packed up there. But when magnified, it is seen that this particular granular structure is as if like a head-like structure here, and this head-like structure is followed by a long tube-like structure which goes down to the medulla and again comes up to the cortex, and there are some sequence and series of some tubes followed by this big head-like structure. So which structure am I talking about? What are these structures known as? These structures are known as nephrons. What are nephrons? The structural and the functional unit of the kidneys. The structural and functional unit of the kidneys. Now, structural and functional unit, matlab, can you tell me, did you ever come across this same definition kahin pe aur? Structural and functional unit of an organism. So far in the chapter life process, did you ever come across structural and functional unit of such and such object? Books खोलोगे नहीं तो यही आंसर दोगे. कौन सा ऑस्पिशियस ओकेजन के लिए तुम लोग बैठे हो? मम्मी बोलेगी चलो बेटा पूजा हो गया, अभी चलो पढ़ाई स्टार्ट करो. कौन सा ऑस्पिशियस ओकेजन के लिए तुम लोग बैठे हो? Can start studying. A typical definition, structural and functional unit, where else did you come across? So ये तो हो गया, that is general. In this chapter, life processes also you have come across. Dash is known as a structural and functional unit. No. Hemoglobin, structural and functional unit of what? Blood. MCQ नहीं है, I'm asking a question. What? What?
Platelets.
No.
Plasma.
It starts with L. It starts with A. Alveolus. Hint क्या मैंने answer ही बता दिया. Alveolus. How do you define alveolus? How do you define alveolus? Of structural and function. Alveolus is a structural and कभी बात बोलना है कि तुम मेरे student थे. Structural and functional unit of. Alveolus is the structural and functional unit of.
अच्छा sorry.
Are you in your senses? What nonsense you are speaking? Alveolus is the structural and functional unit of. अब ये आंसर नहीं दोगे, I'm not going to proceed. कोई मतलब नहीं है. लंग से. कभी बोला? So your voice did not reach. Structural and functional unit of lungs. Now, typically when we are defining this word, nephrons, same concept like the alveolus. Now, why are we saying that nephrons are the structural and functional unit of the lungs? Because the structure remains the same, they are in millions, and the function remains the same. Just like the alveolus also millions in the lungs, structure remains the same, function is same. If that is the concept, always we say such and such organ, such and such part known as a structural and the functional unit. So talking about the lungs, alveolus are the structural and functional unit of the lungs. Talking about the kidneys, nephrons are the structural and functional unit of the lungs. You get a question, why are nephrons known as a structural and functional unit of the kidneys? What are you supposed to write? They are present in millions. All of them have got the same typical structure, such parts to mention. And they perform the same function of filtration of the blood and the formation of the urine. Let us take this definition again. Write down. What are nephrons? What are nephrons? Write the definition on your own. What are nephrons? What are nephrons? Nephrons are. What are nephrons? Nephrons are the structural and functional unit. The structural and functional unit of. Nephrons are the structural and functional unit of the kidneys. Nephrons are the structural and functional unit of the kidneys.
आपको ऐसा लग रहा है वो प्लांट है ना, प्लांट को वो करते हैं, ठीक है, तार लगा के मोड़ते हैं ना प्लांट।
कौन से तार लगा के?
मैम वो बॉन्साई ट्री बनाने के लिए प्रोसेस होता है ना, वैसा भी। अरे छोटे छोटे प्लांट थे जैसे बनते हैं, वो नहीं, वो डोरेमोन में होता था, डोरेमोन के डोरेमोन डालते थे।
Okay, now let's start talking about the okay. Class to maintain क्या करो पेंशन के बच्चे हो. So now when we are talking about this, the entire excretory system, I already mentioned some of the features. Now let us talk about the blood supply. Constantly we are saying what are the functions? Kidney का function क्या है? Two functions to write. Two major functions of the kidney. Already I had mentioned one, that is filtration of the blood. अब जब filtration of the blood हो रहा है, we learn the process. Along with the filtration of the blood, what is happening? The second function is maintenance of the salt and the water balance of the body. So whenever we are talking about functions of the kidney, what are the two major functions? Write down. Mention the functions of the kidney. Now functions of the kidney, you have to write it very specific. What are the two major functions of the kidney? Write down. Number one, functions of the kidney. Number one, filtration of the blood. Filtration of the blood and formation of urine. ये है सबसे important function. Filtration of the blood and formation of the urine. Number two है.
You are.
अरे हम लोग 7, 8, 9 करके 10th में आए. Still I have a big question now. So now वो लॉकडाउन में सोफा में बैठ के जूस पीते पीते जो क्लास हुआ है उसका इफेक्ट दिख रहा है. So now when we are talking about this, the second function you write. So when we understand the process, you will be very clear about what the points you are writing. Number two, maintenance of. Why don't you write on this lines? Maintenance of salt and water balance. Maintenance of salt and water balance in the blood. Maintenance of salt and water balance in the blood. Maintenance of salt and water balance in the blood. Okay. So this is what. Now we look into the blood supply. Look at this figure. Blood supply. So the first point always we are writing filtration of the blood. सबसे important function है for the kidneys. Now let us try understanding. Filtration of the blood कैसे? The vessels which will enter or the vessels which will carry blood to the kidneys. Which are the vessels? It is an artery. And which is that artery? The artery is a branch of the aorta. So what is this broad vessel we get to see? This is the aorta. This aorta, always I told you, aorta emerging from which part of the heart? Left ventricle. Aorta is always, just the previous period we have drawn the diagram of the heart. From where did you draw the aorta? From the left ventricle, always carrying oxygenated blood. So this aorta, which is carrying oxygenated blood, is moving towards the kidney. So what is this vessel known as? This is known as the renal artery. A branch of the aorta which will carry blood towards the kidney, usko bolenge renal artery. So वैसे तो aorta divides into a large number of arteries. Some will give blood to the stomach, some intestine, some bones, etc., etc. So one subset of arteries जो aorta से divide होके kidney की तरफ blood लेके जा रहा है, उसको क्या बोलेंगे? Renal arteries. So this blood, what is the nature of the blood? ये जो renal artery में blood है, the blood is oxygenated because artery का blood तो oxygenated ही होना चाहिए. कहाँ पे vein दिखा? This is renal artery. This is aorta. This is renal artery. Renal artery. So this renal artery, what should be the nature of the blood? Artery है तो oxygenated होगा. But we are talking about filtration. तो filtration किस बात का? Because ये जो blood है, the renal artery, blood तो oxygenated है, but the blood is also very much rich in urea and uric acid. तो urea and uric acid ही यहाँ पे filter होना है. That is the filtration process of the kidneys that we are talking about. अब filter होने के बाद the pure blood in what context? Less of urea, uric acid वाला जो blood है, definitely the blood which is coming out from an organ is oxygenated or deoxygenated. Blood going to the organ is always oxygenated. Blood coming out from the tissues, we have learned, no, gaseous exchange. Blood coming out from a tissue, coming out from an organ is always deoxygenated. देखो यहाँ पे differentiate किया गया है blue and red. Blue meaning always deoxygenated blood. The blood which is coming out from the kidney by the way of the vein, तो उसको क्या बोलेंगे? Renal vein. Renal vein, and the veins of the different organs of the body go and join to form a broad vein of the body. What is that broad vein of the body known as? Vena cava. So that's the reason the vena cava is also shown here. आया समझ में relation? So I am talking about the dorsal aorta. I am talking about the aorta. the branch of the aorta known as renal artery, which will carry blood towards the kidney. But now we are not thinking of oxygen, carbon dioxide. Now we are thinking कहाँ पे यूरिया यूरिक एसिड ज्यादा, कहाँ पे यूरिया यूरिक एसिड कम. That is the job of the kidney. So the blood which is going by the way of the renal artery to the kidney has more of urea, more of uric acid. So that's the reason the blood is toxic. यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? Purification of the blood हो रहा है. Purification in what context?
मैम जब यूरिया यूरिक एसिड प्यूरिफाई होगा तो किडनी
That means kidney में कुछ disorder है.
बॉडी में
The urea uric acid is very toxic. This urea uric acid, if it is remaining in the blood for a long time, the blood is becoming poisonous. Uric acid starts depositing in the bones and the joints in progressive period of time. If the kidney for a long period of time, 5 months, 10 months, 1.5 years, 2 years, अगर इसी तरह से proper filtration नहीं हो रहा है, then the uric acid will always get deposited here, there in the body, and the person will start suffering from painful joints, swelling of the body. Pneumonia is absolutely different. Pneumonia is associated with the lungs. Pneumonia has nothing to do with the kidneys. Otherwise, how will the bones develop the bone marrow? How will the bones develop the blood cells? How will the bones grow and maintain?
Bone में से blood मतलब कैसे?
All over the surface of the bone there are blood vessels. All over the surface of the bone there are blood vessels. In the central canal of the bone there are blood vessels, and there the bone marrow should get adequate supply of nutrients. नहीं तो हमारा blood cells ही नहीं बनेगा वहाँ से. The bone marrow is the site from where all the RBC, WBC platelets are formed. So now talking about this again, come back to the concept of the aorta, renal artery giving blood to the kidneys. Filtration is happening here. From the kidney, the blood back by the renal vein. The renal vein will carry pure or impure blood. The blood is coming out from the kidney. So renal vein should carry pure or impure blood. Pure blood. यहाँ पे impure pure oxygen carbon dioxide पे don't think. यहाँ पे carbon dioxide, I'm sorry, urea कहाँ पे ज़्यादा, urea कहाँ पे कम. I repeat again. The blood brought by an artery, that is the renal artery, going towards the kidneys have high urea concentration. Impure blood. Purification यहाँ पे हो गया. Now the blood which is coming out by the way of the renal vein is pure blood, meaning urea concentration less हो गया. So this veins carrying the pure blood, of course deoxygenated. But now don't confuse between the two concepts of deoxygenated, oxygenated. अभी भूल जाओ. Now urea and high and low concentration. बस उतना याद रखना है. Blood in an artery going towards the kidney, impure. Blood in a vein coming out from the kidney, pure. Pure मतलब low urea. Impure मतलब high urea uric acid. ठीक है? Few minutes. So now this vein will carry the pure blood, and the veins of the body always go and join with the big vein of the body, that is the vena cava. So these are the relations that we are talking about. So what is the blood flow? A simple small flow chart you have to remember. You'll have to write to remember this. So I'm talking about the aorta. All of you will write this flow chart. The aorta divides to form branches known as the renal artery. The renal artery will give blood to the nephrons. The kidneys we write now give blood to the kidneys. From the kidney, which is the vessel which will come out, it is the renal veins. And this renal vein will again go and join with big veins of the body known as the vena cava. And this vena cava will again give blood to the heart. And from the heart again the aorta will emerge. All of you will write down this small flow chart to remember what is the relation of the blood supply to the kidneys. How does kidney obtain blood? Because now the vital organ that we are talking about are the kidneys. Yes. This you should not take more than 5 to 10 minutes. Huh? Fast. Don't take so long like the heart. Start. This is comparatively easier. You should not take long. Again, started. The sphincter, this urinary bladder is almost like the bulb only. हाँ?
थोड़ा और बड़ा वो हम ऐसा रहता है ना ऐसा हाँ ये वाला मतलब ऐसा फ्लैट थोड़ा
Only that this you can draw little bit pointed. That's it. It's okay. You can just draw little bit pointed, not a problem. That is in the form of a tube. Always it is in the form of a tube. Girls, start your work.
And जब bypass surgery होता है तो मतलब हार्ट जो निकालते हैं तब जिंदा कैसे रहता है
Bypass surgery क्या? Are you aware what is the concept of bypass?
वो हार्ट का ट्रांसप्लांट
Heart ka transplant, huh? It is not the entire heart which is transplanted, it is only a part which is transplanted. So, heart mein transplant is not the entire structure, it is actually the pacemaker which is transplanted. Pacemaker we had studied SA node. Remember in the heart I told you on the right wall there is a cardiac muscle which initiates the force of contraction. So, jinke body mein with age or with any other disease condition may that pacemaker stops contracting at the right time. Auricle में blood fill हो गया but contraction शुरू नहीं हुआ then the heart is suffering from some problem. जैसे ही right auricle में blood थोड़ा सा fill हो गया contraction शुरू हो जाना चाहिए. From the message comes from the hypothalamus of the brain. The message comes from the brain.
पता कैसे चलता है कि
problem है heart में. The pulse rate will be very low या तो very high. What should be the pulse rate? 70 to 75 times per minute. किसी के body में अगर 50-60 times है, this is something to be worried about. किसी के body में अगर 100, 110, 120 है, to be worried about. 90 is also not very normal. 90 to 100 is also something to be worried about. 75 to 80 it's okay. 80 to 83 ka they say that it's okay. हाँ girls कोई doubt नहीं है. नहीं this you will have to draw a little bit higher. The left kidney always you will draw little bit higher. The right kidney should be little bit lower. नहीं लग रहा है क्या एक छोटा एक बड़ा? No, of the same size. Kidneys are of the same size. Lungs are also of the same size. Both the lungs. This is the right kidney is little bit lower because the position of the liver. The liver is a very big organ here. So because of the compression of the liver, your right kidney is little bit at the lower level. इसलिए when we draw also, let me remember that we draw.
These are the back side. मतलब वो large intestine और वो सब आगे होंगे.
Large intestine, small intestine, the front part of the abdomen.
तो फिर वो
Kidneys are here, the tubes and the bladder is here. The bladder is here, and the lower region of the
large
abdomen.
intestine से वो पीछे से आते हैं.
नहीं, large intestine, small intestine is in the front part, in the
नहीं,
main side.
वो जो एकदम end part में आता है जब वो छोटा होता
हाँ, that is tilted towards the lower region of the abdomen, and the tubes again come into almost at the same region they will unite.
देख बन गया अच्छा ही तो है तो राजमा जैसा ही होता है
इसका वॉल्यूम देखो
हम बोल रहे हैं राजमा दिख रहे हो राजमा जैसा ही तो होता है
हाँ it is like kidney beans bean shaped structure इसीलिए उसको kidney beans बोला जाता है
what is you अपना नाम ही ले रहा है
हाँ
ये बबे आया है क्या तुम बायोलॉजी के छोड़ा था मैं मेरे को बोल रहे किडनी ये बोल रहे किडनी बना रहे कि मोनालिसा ये बोल रहे भाई बना के दे
just open your mouth and see tight lipped till the end of the plate
अरे मैम मैंने नहीं ये लोग ये किसी
कोई nonsense नहीं बोलेगा come on do your work
देखो मैम मेरा बनने
you
को
constantly keep on talking and then you take so long to finish one diagram girls what's happening
हाँ गर्ल्स को मुझे बोलते हैं
हो रहा है करो गर्ल्स से बेटा थर्ड का डायग्राम इन लोगों ने कितना अच्छा बनाया तो क्या बनाया
मैम मेरे से अच्छा नहीं बना तुषार से अच्छा तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं बना सही है भाई सब चल ना
Always go with that selection
मैम मेरे स्कैल्प पे इशू है तो उससे समझ नहीं आना डायनामिक कितना खून निकलता है स्कैल्प स्कैल्प से ऐसे थोड़ी देर ब्लीचिंग किया ना ब्लड निकलता है पूरा स्किन के सब एक बार मैं वैसे पता नहीं था स्टार्टिंग में इधर ऐसा पूरा ब्लड हो गया था बाद में ट्यूशन में ऐसे पूरा ऐसे ब्लड आया फिर पता चला
तो ये there are so many solutions
बचपन से स्कैल्प से खून निकलता बाल काटने जाते हो बाल उस तरह चला था कभी तो खून निकल जाता
नहीं इंसानी अजीब इंसानी अजीब
अरे थोड़ा सा
चलो देखो फटाफट
बचपन से more than 20
can you finish the diagram without talking see still he is talking
मेरे को डायग्राम ही नहीं है।
मैम रेड वाला थोड़ा सा मोटा और ब्लू वाला थोड़ा सा पतला पतला चलेगा।
हाँ, ब्लड वेसल्स थोड़ा बहुत चलेगा, इट्स नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम।
ये इधर
Fast, fast. Done? Pencil. Pencil नहीं है. The next class also you'll have to draw one more diagram left in this chapter. So next class सबके पास pencil होनी चाहिए. And this just in 5 minutes you will finish. To finish with this part, the process. एक और diagram है which we are going to draw next class. Now see, most of you are drawing the ureter ऐसे draw करते हो. That is very common. Straight ऐसे नहीं draw करना है. You'll have to draw it because the tubes in our body the tubes in our body are turned, twisted, convoluted है. So straight ऐसा tubes नहीं draw करना है.
इसमें क्या किया भाई मैं कर रहा हूँ क्या कौन सा आर्ट था
सभी यार क्या कर रहे हैं सुबह जाता नहीं क्या तू
मार खाएगा या तो आज तेरे को ट्रेन से मिलूंगा या उसको करूंगा तू ट्रेन में तू ट्रेन में लगा
वो सब किया किसने तो बुरा नहीं था ये चीज आता है हाँ अगली बार तेरे पे नाम लेते
बहुत ज्यादा करता है
अरे उसका सही
सब मिलके बच्चों में कोई डाल
बहुत सही है क्या क्या पता नहीं
वही ये बहन का
ये हाँ
मैं
इसको फंसाओ सब लोग मिलके
चलेगा चलेगा चल ही आते हैं
इसके माँ बाप ने चलना भी सिखाई इसे हाँ
इसमें मैं
Very stand क्या है
पर प्रॉब्लम हम देख
That's what sounds a bit good.
उसको वो ब्लैक वाले स्क्रीन है उसके नीचे जो डॉट है ना वो माइक है
That's what I'm
अरे उसमें माइक अलग से होता है वो डॉट माइक
लाइट है ब्लू लाइट है
लाइट नहीं है
लाइट का
अबे लाइट है
हाँ लाइट है
अबे लाइट है
ऐसा क्या हो गया भाई ये तो
भाई ज्यादा
हेलो चैनल वेलकम बैक टू माय गाइस
अबे भाई
बॉक्स भाई नमस्कार ये देख भी रहे हैं
कितना बिहेव
मैंने पहले बोला था मेरा उनके पास एक ऊपर से दिखा ठीक बोलता
Done. Fast, fast. Done.
I'm gonna
भाई स्टोरी सिस्टम हो गया
This is what I do.
मामले को उसने स्ट्रेट सेट बांधा
Straight. It was a quiet, calm,
अरे
confident होनी चाहिए.
मामले को एक ऑयल बोल दे
और थोड़ा सा
मामले को
हमें रिजल्ट देखेंगे
ये कब
ऐसा कैसे आ गया? हाँ, क्यों?
अरे ऐसे
No.
अरे भाई तेरा ये बड़ा
Turn
चीज
the other way. ऐसे turn नहीं होगा. Come check.
मतलब इधर से
हाँ. It should not be you are turning it the other way. ऐसे कभी नहीं होगा ना. The tube will come out this way. It is turned this way. It should be turned this way.
क्या हो
Come this way. Come this way. And this kidney is also why straight. It should be absolutely convex. This side is convex and this side convex. Absolutely turn proper. You will get full marks in the diagram only when it is not expected that you draw a very artistic diagram, not that way. But if it is neat and clear, and next is if it is bit close to what the diagram is, what the structures are, then definitely you will get full marks for the diagram. Okay. Now, वो bladder part थोड़ा सा ठीक करो. Bladder part थोड़ा सा round and done, no? All done? Okay. So now next, what are we going to study?
मार्किंग वाली
How much left, girls? Leveling बाकी है? फटाफट 1 minute में करो fast. No noise here.
अरे वो ब्लड ऐसे आता है सर्कुलेट होता है
Just make it a little bit shorter. और कुछ नहीं करना.
मां को बराबर है ना ऐसे आता है ब्लड फिल्टर होता है फिर निकल के जाता है
You make the structure a little bit smaller.
हां वो बना दिया मैं बाद में छोटा
Next time when you are drawing, practicing, practice the diagrams. All of you. So far, how many diagrams I had asked you to draw? Right from the first life processes, structure of the stomata, nutrition in amoeba, alimentary canal, digestive system, respiratory system, and what else? What else? This 4, and then now the structure of the heart, excretory system, and last one more, that is the nephron. So with that, diagrams of this chapter is over. And this chapter में ही diagrams है. बाकी सारे chapters में diagram नहीं है. It is in this chapter only that 6-7 diagrams that you have to practice. This is the excretory system in human. ये complete excretory system है. This is the excretory system in human. Our environment is there for the yes. Our environment is there for the next exam. Life process is still where? When is your exam? Life process है, our environment है, and heredity है. Which school?
मतलब पूरा portion.
Did they teach you? How come?
First August.
July ends till where did they finish in school? Life process खत्म हो गया before the holidays. So now we are left with heredity and our environment. But I'm sure you must not have understood anything in school.
Now our environment तो ये ना EVS का chapter.
हाँ, it's easy. No. Now listen. Now that we are talking about the structure of the kidney, now we are trying to understand. Now the blood supply. First of all, two things in this diagram that you have to understand: the parts. What are the parts? Pair of kidneys, pair of ureter, urinary bladder, urethra. उनके features क्या है? And basic characteristics. What is the major function of the kidney? I already asked you to write down. What are the major functions? Number one, filtration of the blood. Number two, maintenance of salt and water balance. What is the function of the ureter? What is the function of the bladder? What is the function of the urethra? So, if I have to mention what is the function of the ureter, all of you will note down this. The functions, one function for each of these parts. What is the function of the ureter? The function of the ureter is passage of the urine from. The function of ureter is passage of the urine from the kidney to the bladder. From kidneys to the urinary bladder. So that is the function you should write down. Talking about the function of the urinary bladder. What is the function of the urinary bladder? The function is temporary storage of the urine. Temporary storage. It is the walls are extensible, flexible. Temporary storage of the urine. That is the function. What is the function of the urethra? The last part of the system. Urethra. What is the function of the urethra? It helps in release of the urine out from the body. Release of the urine from the body. So now, the functions of all these parts, the function of the kidney, you are aware. What is the function of the ureter? You are aware. What is the function of the bladder? Function of the urethra. So for 1 marks, when these functions are asked, you are aware what function to write down. Now, talking about the structure of the kidney little bit in detail. So already we had understood what are those tube-like structures in that previous figure. I was constantly mentioning that there are some tube-like structures which are in this form, nephrons, and they are in millions. Almost in a pair of kidneys, we have got almost 2 million nephrons. Sphincter muscles. Remember in this figure also I showed you, the sphincter muscles. The sphincter muscles that I showed you. The sphincter muscles here. The sphincter muscles. Just right now, sphincter muscles. So now, when we are talking about this system, now we try go look into the detailed structure of the kidney.
जो ये आपने बनाया ना इसका यू टाइप का जो स्किन कलर वो बीच में से श्रिंक हो
कौन सा बीच में श्रिंक the tube is like that, narrow and broad, but you can draw it regular, not a problem for you all. So now that we are talking about the structure of the kidney, what is present inside, millions of such type of tubular structures. What are these tubular structures? Known as nephron. So we now try to understand what are the parts of a nephron. Just get acquainted with the names first. What are the parts of the nephron? And what is the relation of the blood supply to the nephron now? I already gave you a small flow chart so that you are able to understand the aorta, the renal artery, the kidney, the renal vein, the vena cava. That is the relation always. So now let me start understanding a relation from that aorta there. So the renal artery is a branch of the aorta. So right now I am talking about the renal artery. From the renal artery I start. What is this branch? What is this tube that I am drawing? This tube is known as the renal artery. Now get acquainted with the terms. The renal artery, I said, carry toxic blood towards the kidneys. The renal artery is carrying blood towards the kidneys. Now this renal artery, when it is carrying blood towards the kidneys, this renal artery divides again to form some few more tubes, and this will now undergo further breakdown, resulting in the formation of a network of blood vessels. So let us try understanding these names now. What is this vessel? Remember, this is not the aorta I am drawing. This is renal artery that I am drawing. A renal artery is formed from which vessel I am drawing? I am drawing this vessel now. Renal artery ke baad inside the kidney wall. Inside the kidney wall. So renal artery further divides in the diameter is lesser than 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter. ये तो 1 millimeter. इसका 1 millimeter से भी कम. That much is the diameter. So when we are talking about this type of tubes, now I start from the renal artery. Try understanding. The renal artery divides into another set of tubes. What are these tubes known as? Later when you draw the diagram, you should be very well acquainted. The renal artery divides into another set of tubes. What are these tubes known as? These are known as the afferent arteriole. Try pronouncing them. Afferent arteriole.
वो जो ब्लू वाला वेन है वो आके खत्म हो गया.
Now, don't go into that. I just gave you a reference. Unless and until you understand the terms, this is just like a picture for you. You will not understand what is this entire picture all about. Now, when we are talking about the renal artery is dividing into another set of tubes. What are those set of tubes known as? Afferent arteriole. This afferent arteriole will again enter into the cup-shaped structure of the nephron. तो ये cup-shaped structure को क्या बोलेंगे? This cup-shaped structure has got a specific name. This cup-shaped structure is known as the Bowman's capsule. What is it called? The Bowman's capsule. What are some features of the Bowman's capsule to remember? Bowman कहाँ पे अलग लिखा है?
glomerular capsule है ऊपर.
Same thing. Glomerular capsule या तो Bowman's capsule. So now when we are talking about, look into this, the entire cup-shaped structure made up of smooth muscles. Outer wall, see I have drawn in bold lines, no? Solid bold lines I have drawn. Meaning this entire cup-shaped structure is double wall. Which are the two walls I am talking about? एक तो ये है and एक का other one. This double wall cup-shaped structure is hollow from inside. This double wall cup-shaped structure hollow from inside. And this wall, can you see I draw in dotted lines? What is the meaning? Dotted lines tube. It has got millions of pores there. So it has got pores. The inner wall has so many pores, but the outer wall is even and solid. What is this entire structure made up of? What is its name? Bowman's capsule. You don't have to write glomerular capsule. Bowman's capsule. And what is it made up of? Smooth muscles. But what is present in the depression of the Bowman's capsule? What is present in the cup-shaped structure of the Bowman's capsule? A network of blood capillaries. How are these network of blood capillaries formed? This network of blood capillaries are formed by the division of the afferent arteriole. What are these network of capillaries known as? This network of capillaries are known as the glomerulus. What is it called? Glomerulus. So what are the two parts I am talking about? ये है renal artery. The renal artery, as it is approaching towards the kidney, the renal artery starts dividing into a number of tubules further. So division of the renal artery, what will that be termed as? Afferent arteriole. The afferent arteriole is carrying blood towards the nephron. But as the afferent arteriole enters into the nephron, the afferent arteriole divides and divides and divides, forming a cluster of capillaries. Cluster of capillaries ban jata hai. So that ball of capillaries, a tight knot of the capillaries, usko bolenge glomerulus. This glomerulus and Bowman's capsule together again has got a name. What is this glomerulus and Bowman's capsule together known as? This is known as the Malpighian body. What is it called? The Malpighian body or the Malpighian corpuscle. So what are the words I am mentioning? This entire bead-like structure, जो मैंने हमेशा in this structure I have always mentioned that look into the cortex. The cortex has this type of a granular structure, high magnification when we see. Each of this granular structure is a head-like structure like this. Which head-like structure? It is actually the Malpighian corpuscle or the Malpighian body. What are the two parts of a Malpighian body? What will you write? The glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. The two parts of the Malpighian capsule, Malpighian body, glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. What did I say? How is the glomerulus formed? By the division of the afferent arteriole. Or afferent arteriole is formed by the division of renal artery. यहाँ पे clear है? Now looking into this part again, what are the features? The features you have to remember. The Bowman's capsule is double walled, outer wall is solid, and the inner wall is porous. ये features याद रखना है when we are understanding the process. And the glomerular capillaries. Can you tell me one special feature of the glomerular capillaries? We had learned two. What are the two special features of the capillaries? The wall is thin and the wall is porous. So here we are going to understand what are some special features of the capillary. If I have to draw one such capillary, what should be the feature of this capillary? The wall is very thin and the wall is porous. What is the meaning? Porous means what? It has got small openings. It has got small openings. So this is the feature of the capillaries that we come across here. So this entire head-like structure, globular head-like structure, usko kya bolenge? Malpighian body. What are the two parts? 1 and 2. Coming to the next part. The next part is this.
red color का है वो glomerulus.
The red color is glomerulus, and this forms the division of the renal the afferent arteriole, which is a branch of the renal artery. Now talking about this entire tubular part of the nephron. This was the first part we talked about. Talking about the entire part of the nephron. Now in your book, they have not mentioned anything about the names of the parts. जबकि पूरा nephron में जो tubular part है, it has got definite names. Definite names अगर नहीं सीखोगे, then understanding the process is also very difficult. According to your book, it is always mentioned as the first part of the tubule, the second part of the tubule, the third part of the tubule. But actually there are names to these parts, and I would always teach you those names. The names you have to try understanding. अगर बहुत difficult लग रहा है, then you have to go by your book, the first and the second and the third करके answer लिखना है. But there are specific names. So we'll go by the specific names. But which are the specific parts? This entire part of the tubule, just like the intestine, extremely long, extremely coiled. So this word coiled is being used here, and that's the reason we write convoluted. Let me write down the name for the first part. So this is the first part of the tubule. The tubule is divided into 3 regions. What is the first part known as? The first part is known as proximal convoluted tubule. Proximal convoluted tubule. What is the meaning of proximity? किसे कहते हैं? Proximity मतलब? Proximity मतलब what? English meaning proximity मतलब क्या? हाँ? Distance of what to what? Relative, no, it is. Proximity मतलब?
Distance between two.
Proximity is not the distance between two points or etc. Proximity किसको बोलेंगे? The nearness of anything, no? How close the object is to something. I would say this particular pouch is at a close proximity to the book, meaning the pouch is kept close to the book. Distant किसको बोलेंगे? That pouch is distant to the book. मतलब that pouch is at a long distance from the book. So the words proximal and distal that you come across, always to understand. Now I talk about the first part. I say, what is the first part known as? Proximal convoluted. You have to remember the words and the meanings. Convoluted meaning extensively coiled है, इसीलिए convoluted. After some time. Proximal convoluted. What is the meaning of convoluted? I told you. Extensively coiled है, इसीलिए convoluted नाम है. Proximal क्यों? Because it is close to the Malpighian body. इसीलिए proximal. So what is the name of the first part of the tubule? Proximal convoluted tubule. So why proximal convoluted tubule? The first part, because it is closer to the Malpighian body. After that, what is the second part? A very long, narrow, U-shaped tube. And what is this long, narrow, U-shaped tube known as? This is known as the loop of Handley. What is the third part known as? The third part is known as the distal convoluted tubule. Convoluted, you know the meaning? What did I say? Convoluted मतलब extensively coiled जो है. Tubule, it's a tube. And distal मतलब away from the Malpighian body. So what are the three parts of the nephron now? Proximal tubule, loop of Handley, and distal convoluted tubule, which will end up into a very long tube, which will come and join with the ureter. What is this long tube known as? This particular tube, what is it known as? This is known as the collecting duct. So what are the parts of the nephron I am talking about? I said this is the entire structure of the nephron. To talk about the basic structures, what are the major parts? The first is glomerulus. What are the major parts of the nephron? Glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. How is the glomerulus formed? Division of efferent arteriole.
ये जो लास्ट का ट्यूब है ना,
Collecting duct.
ये वाला यूरेटर है ना.
No, this is the collecting duct which will go and join here. This is the collecting duct which will go and empty the contents in the broad end of the ureter. इसको pelvis बोला जाता है, and then it will cut. So now that we are talking about what are the parts, name the parts of the nephron. What are the parts you are supposed to write? Malpighian body consisting of this and this, and the tubular part consisting of this, this, and this. Let us write one question. Let me remember all these words. The next question you write.
इतना बड़ा.
हाँ?
इतना बड़ा.
कितना बड़ा?
इतना बनाने दो.
Diagram. Don't draw. I will tell you later. नहीं, वो पेज छोड़ दो. अच्छा, वो पेज छोड़ दो. I did not ask you to draw the diagram. पहले समझो. Blanking you should not draw. Keep on drawing. पहले समझो. Once you are understanding, then you are very clear what am I drawing.
Yes. बीच में draw करते हो.
कौन सा बीच में draw? हाँ, it is like that only.
So
A very long tube, and this is the reason why the volume of our blood is maintained. इसी tube की वजह, this particular tube has got a very Okay, let us write. Name the parts of the nephron. What are the parts of a nephron? Name the parts of a nephron. What should you write? Name the parts of a nephron, right? ये आंसर लिख के जाओ. Name the parts of a nephron. आंसर लिखो. Every nephron consists of the Malpighian body. Every nephron consists of the Malpighian body. आया समझ में? You all are still blank. आ रहा है समझ में? Malpighian. Malpighian body. Malpighian body. Malpighian body consisting of glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. Malpighian body consisting of glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. Malpighian body consisting of, check karo spellings all of you, glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. BOWMAN''S Bowman's capsule. Yes. Admin है? हाँ. Up to the name of the biologist. Bowman's capsule. Bowman's. Okay. The parts of the nephron consist of Malpighian body consisting of glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, and the tubular part. And the tubular part consisting of. And the tubular part consisting of. And the tubular part consisting of. Put a dash. Number 1. ये लिखो proximal convoluted tubule. And the tubular part, put a dash and write proximal convoluted tubule, number 1, PROXI. Proximal convoluted tubule, convoluted, coiled. Proximal convoluted tubule, comma, number 2, loop of Hanley. Loop of Hanley, HENLE. Yes, loop of Hanley, and number 3, distal convoluted tubule. DISTAL, distal convoluted tubule. These things are not taught in your school? Huh? Starting it was. And they are planning to keep all the 3 chapters for your examples exam. Don't go slow. First exam mein ye life process and our environment. And you are talking about all the 3 chapters and they are not taught only. Kaise? What about this side?
Science का पहला chapter था वो nutrition ही चालू है.
Start nutrition का chapter.
मैम आपको
पोदार का कौन है?
ये पोदार
पोदार में क्या न्यूज़ है?
उधर ऑनलाइन
यही चालू है.
ये चालू है इधर बहुत ही पीछे है.
Nutrition.
nutrition first chapter life processes है ना उसके पहले
Be very much aware. Question क्या है for the first exam?
First chapter बस गया.
First exam full है.
life processes के बस दो ही part nutrition और
Excretion. Nutrition के साथ excretion नहीं है. Nutrition के साथ
जो लंब शायद
थोड़ा मोटू
गोल मत वाले क्यों
Okay, done. So the parts of the nephron. Last 2 more questions that you will try on your own. We wind up today. Name the blood vessel. Fast. Likho. This 2 you will read this part and complete at home. Name the blood vessel. Name the blood vessel that carry toxic blood towards the nephron. Name the blood vessel that carry toxic blood towards the nephron. Toxic blood towards the nephron. I'll give you 2-3 questions. This will try us over. Name the blood vessel which carry toxic blood towards the nephron. Next, leave one line for the answer. Number 2. Number 2. What is meant by glomerulus? What is meant by glomerulus? Meant by, what do you understand? हर एक चीज में how is it formed लिखना है. What is meant by glomerulus? 2 lines for your answer. इसमें आंसर क्या लिखोगे? Based on what? A knot of blood capillaries, a network of blood capillaries. कहाँ से develop हो रहा है? Division of which blood vessel? That should be your answer. Leave 2-3 lines for the answer. Number 3. 2-3 lines for the answer. Number 3. What type of muscles? What type of muscles make up? What type of muscles make up the tubules of what happened? इसमें क्या हासिल की बात? Muscles में लड़कियां हंस रही है, समझ में आता. Why you all are smiling? कुछ भी है तो इसके ऊपर तुम लोग डालते हो. आज तो सभी रहे थे. इसको छोड़.
मैं नहीं हंस रहा था.
ये भी हंस रहा था.
इतना लाल ही पड़ जाता है.
See, I forgot my question. Yes, girls, tell me what is the question. That make up the tubules of excretory system. Tubules, T-U-B-U-L-E-S. That make up the tubules of the excretory system. Last question. 2 line chodo and number 4. Last question. What is the role of the sphincter muscle? Sphincter spelling. Sphincter spelling क्या है? What did you write? Sphincter spelling लिखा ना diagram में? S-P-H-I-N-C-T-E-R. S-P-H-I. Easy है? What is the function of the sphincter muscles in the urethra? What is the function of the sphincter muscles in the urethra? Muscles in the urethra. What is the function of the sphincter muscles? ये 4 question all of you make an attempt to read that part and solve the
इसको ऊपर है. ये मैंने एक्चुअली अपना गौरी का आगे बढ़ाएंगे.